Hey y'all, I've been on a trip for the past couple of days, so I'm not sure if this video will be late or not, but considering it's a single episode of a sitcom, not being able to churn it out on time would be kinda sad for me. We're continuing the reviewing of Always Sunny Season 17 with Episode 3 now, Mac and Dennis become EMTs. This episode features a main plotline in which Mac and Dennis pretend to be EMTs to save lives on the street, while Dee begins to work her Postmates job out of Charlie's kitchen, and Frank contests with the lawyer, who hasn't been in the show for 5 whole seasons, so his return is kind of a big deal. This episode is pretty chock full, so let's just get started. So I'm just going to cover this all in 3 parts, starting with Mac and Dennis, who get quickly inspired by the resuscitation of a Patty's patron by EMTs. I have to say, it's kind of strange for the two of them to have almost no reaction until after the fact, since they seem extremely calm when the man is actually being saved. That would be in character for Dennis, but it's pretty weird for Mac, who's usually so loud with how he feels. Small detail, but it's hard to not notice. Pretty much immediately, they sign up for a class, which is used for just one scene that didn't thrill me, but the second that they ditch the class and decide to just buy costumes and pretend, like they did with Cops all the way back in Season 3, this plotline really gets going. I personally found it very satisfying to see Mac and Dennis be on the same page about something that they genuinely both seem to enjoy. Even though they are going about their jobs in entirely the wrong way, basically huffing hot peppers to get their blood flowing and attempting to knock out one of their callers, played by the wonderful Caitlin Riley, who was great to see on the show, they aren't doing this for money. The two of them are actually trying to save people, and they work together in a fairly efficient way where it seems like they're actually managing to save a few people, at least until the rest of the gang gets involved. I love Mac and Dennis's dynamic throughout the episode, with Mac being a little off the rails with the whole pepper thing, but still on the same page with Dennis enough that their chemistry is still all the way there. The energy of this storyline is fantastic. Charlie and Dee's little story is probably the most mediocre and forgettable, but it is also the glue that brings the gang together by the end, so I see why it was necessary. Still, there's essentially no setup for Charlie's cooking or Dee's delivery services, which makes the whole thing feel like it just starts and ends really fast. I enjoy the Charlie side of things, though, with his whole yes chef insistence that Dee doesn't understand but is willing to roll with just to get him to shut up. It gets much better when everyone is sweaty and they match the intensity with a wilder filming style, and then they throw Frank into the equation too, since you kind of expect this behavior from Charlie, but when Frank begins to treat Charlie like he's actually his boss, it's bizarre in the best way. Dee, on the other hand, felt like she was kind of missing something. Her rides through town terrorizing the general public are fun, but I feel like they could have taken it a step further than just the usual Dee rage fest. I would have loved to see her go on some wild Mission Impossible stunt, leaping over cars and kicking drivers in the head just to deliver a Postmates order. Personally, the more they leaned into the dramatization of this food order, the better it would have been. Finally, we get to Frank and the lawyer, whose return was great to see. The lawyer's never been my absolute favorite side character, yet his reactions to the gang are consistently different to most. While people like the waitress and waiter will be dumbfounded at the insanity of the group, the lawyer adjusts pretty well and begins to expect their every move. He might be the only character on the show who could have a member of the gang bring food to him, instantly point out that it's most likely been poisoned, and then choose to continue with the conversation like nothing happened because he feels so not threatened. In this episode, they do decide to step up the lawyer's obsession with the group, as it's implied that he's essentially been stalking them, waiting for them to commit a crime for the last 5 seasons, and catches Frank for having caused the coma of the man rescued by the EMTs at the beginning, because if it happened in Patty's, it must have been one of the staff behind it. I don't know how he didn't catch one of them sooner, but whatever. By the end of the episode, the resolution is that the lawyer is given a near-lethal dosage of hot peppers by Frank and has the group blame literally everything they did during the episode on him after Mac and Dennis crash their ambulance. It's a hilarious turnaround to have the judge read all the crimes aloud, expecting the gang at the receiving end of the punishment, only for the camera to turn to the sad, beaten-up lawyer trying desperately to defend himself. A lot of people seem to see him going the way of Cricket after this fiasco, but I personally would rather see the lawyer become a sort of supervillain for the group, constantly trying to stop their schemes as a bit of a vigilante after he most likely loses his job. Whatever happens, I just hope they bring the guy back, he's awesome. Mac and Dennis become EMTs feels like an episode that comes and goes pretty quickly, with some very fast pacing and time having to be split to make up for all 3 plot lines. Nonetheless, I quite enjoyed it enough to give it a solid 8 out of 10. I'd place it below episode 2, but above the Abbott crossover. Season 17 is still looking good so far, and the next episode seems to be one containing some of the most exciting trailer clips, such as the fight at Patty's, if I'm not mistaken. Now that should be good. Bye now.